Okay, it's 2:00. I apologize for noise in the background. My door is closed, but it is a happy day in our office today, so people are being loud. Welcome to the meeting. This is the joint meeting of the West Turlock Subbasin GSA Technical Advisory Committee and the East Turlock Subbasin GSA Technical Advisory Committee. Normally Herb is doing all of this. The rules, I guess we don't need to go over the rules. We know the rules. So we can call the meeting to order. Do we have a quorum? And I didn't pull up my list. Jennifer, would you be able to help me?
Yeah, absolutely. Vice Chair Morgan, I'll go through and I'll call off those
Okay.
that I currently see. And then if anyone else joins in the meantime, then that would be helpful because for the time being, it doesn't appear as though we have a quorum.
Okay.
So I have Member Montalbano from Turlock Irrigation District. Yes. Member Maldonado from Delhi County Water District.
Present.
Member Odom from Denair Community Services District.
I am here.
Thank you. Member Velasquez from City of Houston.
Here.
I have Member McKinnon from Stanislaus County.
I'm here.
And then I also show that our West Turlock Subbasin TAC Treasurer, Michael Clipper, is on the line. But with that count, I currently show that we only have 6 members available for the West Turlock Subbasin GSA TAC.
Okay.
So perhaps we could let Sarah do her roll call, and in the meantime, maybe we'll have a few more join us.
That's what I was thinking. Go ahead, Sarah.
Thanks. Yes, I think we do have a quorum here for East Turlock. I have myself, Christy McKinnon and Matt Beeman on the line. And I don't think we have any additional that have called in at this point, but with 3, we have a quorum, so I'll call it to order.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm certain that everyone has realized, but I failed to indicate that Vice Chair Morgan from City of Ceres is on the call as well. But because she's chairing the meeting, hopefully everyone has recognized that. So we have a total of 6 agencies on the line. Maybe we could move forward with some of the items that don't require a quorum, such as public participation or those types of things, until we have another agency that joins us.
Okay, I can do that. So this is a time set aside for members of the public to directly address the Turlock Subbasin Technical Advisory Committee on any items of interest to the public that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Technical Advisory Committee, and to address the committees on any item on the posted agenda. Members of the public will be allowed 5 minutes for comments. If you wish to speak regarding an item on the agenda, you may be asked to defer your remarks until the Technical Advisory Committee addresses the matter. No action or discussion will be undertaken on any item appearing on the posted agenda. Do we have anyone from the public that would like to speak? Doesn't sound like it.
And I don't see any hands raised.
Okay, well, Sarah, would you like to approve your minutes?
Sure, yeah, why don't we move up to item 4? And East Turlock will look to approve the minutes of September 22nd, the regular joint TAC meeting. Can I get a motion from somebody from East Turlock?
This is Matt. I'll move.
Thanks, Matt. And a second?
I can second that.
Thank you, Christy. And I'll do a quick roll call. Matt?
Yes.
Christy?
Yes.
And Sarah, yes. Minutes are approved for East Turlock from September 22nd. Maybe do we want to go to the budget update, being that that's the next item without any action? Oops, Karen, I think you're on mute.
I'm sorry, I just read a whole bunch. Number 6, the budget update, overview of revenues and expenditures for the West Turlock Subbasin and East Turlock Subbasin groundwater sustainability agencies. Michael Clipper for the west side, go ahead.
Okay, I'll start off with the basin account. As of October 1st, we had $667,706.48. For the West Turlock account, we had $235,835.05 as of October 1st. Any questions?
Okay, not hearing any. Sarah?
Yeah, I can give the update for October for the East Turlock GSA. And as of, let's see, today we had earlier our GSA board meeting where we voted to approve payment of $35,098.99 worth of accounts payable. And that will leave us at the end of October with an account balance for the GSA of $229,879.42 for East Turlock. And that's our report, unless there's any questions for East Turlock.
Okay, well, we can move on to number 9, the round 2 Sigma implementation grant application. This is a discussion regarding the Department of Water Resources Sustainable Management Program. Round 2 implementation grant, including the development of a grant application, associated task and timelines. And this would be Debbie.
Thank you, Karen. So I just wanted to Debbie, can I cut you off for 1 second? My apologies for doing that. I tried to hop in before you started, but I didn't unmute in time. I just wanted to point out that Member McBride from Merced has joined us, and it's 2:06 p.m. And so at this time, we do have a quorum of the West Turlock Subbasin, and then I believe Sarah can add her to the participant list for East Turlock as well.
Okay, so
great.
we can officially call the meeting to order then, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, good.
So Karen, would you like to go through the other items first and then do action?
Sure.
Or item number 9?
Sure, we can go back
Or
to the
10?
beginning.
Yeah.
So let's call the meeting to order. We have a quorum. We can go to number 4, approval of the minutes of the September 22nd, 2022 regular joint meeting of the West Turlock Subbasin and the East Turlock Subbasin GSA Technical Advisory Committees. If everybody's had a chance to review, I'd like to get a motion from the west side.
I'll motion, Karen. Maldonado.
Thank you. Anyone else feeling brave?
I can second that.
Okay, good. Okay, so all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I
Anyone opposed, please signify by saying nay. Sounds like the motion carries. Sarah? Do you have any minutes to approve?
Actually, we're good. We just approved ours, so I think we're good to go.
Oh, that's
on
right.
to-
Sorry. Okay.
It's okay. We're jumping around.
Yes, we are. Okay, on to number 5. This is a resolution of the West Turlock Subbasin Groundwater Sustainability Agency Technical Advisory Committee recognizing the state of emergency proclaimed by the governor on March 4th, 2020, which remains in effect, and reauthorizing remote teleconferencing meetings of the West Turlock GSA TAC for the period November 4th, 2022 through December 3rd, 2022, pursuant to the Brown Act. So we're looking for a motion from the west side to approve continuing these meetings remotely.
I'll move. This is Debbie.
I'll second. Maldonado.
Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, signify by saying nay.
And Vice Chair Morgan, with this being a resolution, would you mind if I do a roll call vote of the members?
Yes, please.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Member Maldonado,
Yes.
Member McBride,
yes.
Member McKinnon,
Yes.
Member Montalbano,
Yes.
Member Odom,
Yes.
Member Velasquez,
Yes.
and Vice Chair Morgan.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Okay, down to number 7, a task order to prepare the 2023 annual report. This is a task for Todd Groundwater to prepare the 2023 annual report of the Turlock Subbasin and submit water level measurements on behalf of the GSAs. And this is for Debbie Montalbano.
Thank you, Karen. So as you all know, one of the requirements that the GSAs have is to prepare and submit an annual report to the Department of Water Resources each year, documenting water level changes and how the subbasin is complying with the SGMA requirements and how we're implementing our GSP. This would be the second annual report that we would be providing, and it is due in April of 2023. It's a rather long process to put it all together and compile all the information, and it also includes updating data sets within the groundwater models so that we can then generate the water budgets and analyze the other information that's required for the annual report. There are specific statutory requirements that be included. It's a rather lengthy process. And this scope of work would also include compiling and uploading information into the Department of Water Resources database for the water level measurements that are also required on a semi-annual basis. And so all of those requirements would be incorporated into one scope of work. As I understand it, the East Turlock Subbasin GSA considered this item earlier today and has asked that we go back and talk to the consultant team and see if there are potential opportunities for reducing those costs. Although the cost that was provided this time around is less than the cost for the initial report, and it includes a couple of extra items to do the water level measurement uploads. They would still like to go back and see if there's opportunities to reduce the costs. As I understand it, some of the members have access to maybe other subbasins and the costs associated with that, and they just like to make sure everything is okay, which I understand completely. So what I would ask this TAC to consider is to authorize the chair to initiate a task order with Todd Groundwater to prepare the annual report and submit the water level measurements on behalf of the GSAs in an amount up to the $167,620. So we have the ability to move it forward once we've gone through that process with East Turlock and with the consultant team. So that's what I have for you today. I'd be happy to answer any questions there might be.
This is Matt Beeman, Merced Irrigation District. I work in the Merced Subbasin too, hopefully, obviously. So just to give some clarification on the cost, the cost for the annual report in the entire Merced Subbasin, all 512,000 acres of it, was about $80,000, and that cost has been consistent. So Sarah and Mike can elaborate if you want, but this proposal being twice as much seems like that's a substantial difference. So that's where we're at.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was
No,
just
all right,
wondering
Matt,
if that. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, so what the direction was from the board was not so much that this is too high, it's a criticism. It's just that they had questions we were not able to answer. And so we're going to, investigate and understand that a little bit better, get back to them in a special session so that we can move this forward in an expeditious manner. So we're not necessarily criticizing the cost. We're saying that it's wrong, but from a fiscal perspective, they had a couple of questions that we weren't able to answer. So we need to be able to answer those questions for them to take action. That's how I would characterize it. So I think that we can probably easily accomplish that, early next week.
I appreciate you restating that more eloquently, Mike.
Yes, and I do think there are additional items that are incorporated into this that are not incorporated into the Merced annual scope of work. The uploads and that sort of thing. And there may be additional analyses that are required within this subbasin to meet the need. I do not know, and so we'll work our way through that. But if our the West Turlock TAC is willing to take action to enable the current up to the amount, then we will be able to move forward. Otherwise, I think we'll need a special meeting for the West Turlock TAC as well to move this process forward because of the timelines and deadlines associated with the annual report.
Thank you, Debbie. Is there any more questions for this item? Okay, so we're looking for a recommendation for an action authorizing the West Turlock Subbasin GSA TAC Chair to initiate a task order for Todd Groundwater to prepare the 2023 annual report for the Turlock Subbasin and submit water level measurements on behalf of the GSAs in an amount up to $167,620.
I do have a quick question. This is Lacey. So by approving it up to the 167,000, are we leaving room in there for any changes that might come to the task order that might come out of the discussions over the next week between the two GSAs and the consultant team regarding the task order?
As I understand it, and I could be wrong, and maybe Mike could chime in. They are wondering if the East Turlock is wondering if there's an ability to reduce the cost. So we're not anticipating increased costs. So this would meet that need.
Okay, it would allow for those changes. So we're not locking ourselves into the existing task order. Just the top end of the cost.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's authorizing a task order. I think there's opportunity to make adjustments, or maybe there's additional language that you'd like to propose to modify that to make it more clear.
I'm not sure what my language would be, but yeah, I can make the motion to allow the West Turlock TAC to move forward with the task order up to $167,620, but also allowing for any modifications that might come out of the discussions between the East Turlock TAC, the West Turlock, and the consultant team, if there are any modifications to the annual report task order. Does that make sense?
Yes. Thank you, Lacey.
Second, anyone? Anyone? Thank you. Okay, so all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed,
Aye.
please signify by saying nay. Okay, motion carries. Thank you.
And I would just like to add a point of clarification. Once we've had an opportunity to further discuss the task order for this specific work, I will make sure to share the task order for the annual report as well as the task order for the two other items that are on the agenda today with the West Turlock and East Turlock teams if they have not yet had an opportunity to see them. So I'll be sure to share that information for the any updates that are made to this particular item as well as the two additional task orders.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer.
one point for Sarah. Sarah, we may want to have direction from the TAC on behalf of ETS GSA to have an ad hoc group consisting of you, me, and Matt look at the investigate the cost and advise the board so that they can take action on the proposal. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so I think what we'd be asking our East Turlock TAC for at this moment in time is direction to investigate this particular task order, verify that we're comfortable and understand in full the cost associated with this task order, and then bring that in a special meeting to the full ETS GSA in a special meeting, hopefully as early as next week. So I think we want to make sure that the minutes reflect that that's our action, that we're not action, but the direction that this TAC would like to see, and that our staff is taking that action.
And I will most certainly include that information in the minutes, Sarah, that you will be working together as an ad hoc committee to further review and discuss the task order as it relates to the annual report, so that not only that's included in our minutes, but then you have the direction that's noted for the steps that you'll be taking moving forward.
Perfect. Thank you, Jennifer. And then just if I could hear from our TAC that is in fact the direction they'd like to see.
That sounds good to me, Sarah.
Thank you, Christy. Lacey and Matt, are you comfortable with that approach?
Fine with me.
Yes.
Hi,
You're
you're a cute little
Matt.
baby.
Sorry.
I think everyone enjoys it.
Yeah, we've been there.
Yeah.
Okay, so are we ready to move on to task number 8?
I believe so.
Okay, so number 8 is a task order for minimum threshold MT exceedance action plan. This is a recommended action by the West Turlock Subbasin GSA. And the motion is authorizing the West Turlock Subbasin GSA TAC chair to initiate a task order for TOG groundwater to develop an action plan to track and respond to minimum threshold exceedances in a consistent manner across the Turlock Subbasin. And this would be in the amount of $30,130. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, I'm looking for a motion then. Not all at once. Was that you, Leandro?
I will motion, Karen.
Okay. Was that Leandro? Okay, good.
Yes.
Thank you. Leandro.
I'll second, Karen.
Thank you, David.
You're welcome.
Okay, all of those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All of those opposed,
Aye.
please signify by saying nay. Sorry, I didn't give you enough time. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Okay, motion carries.
And Karen,
Yes.
I'd just like to mention again for the minutes that East Turlock in their GSA board meeting earlier today did also approve this task order for $30,130.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Alrighty, moving on to number 9. I don't think we really got into this one, but I've crossed it off, so now I'm not sure. The round 2 Sigma implementation grant application. Discussion regarding the Department of Water Resources Sustainable Management Program, round 2 implementation grant, including the development of a grant application, associated tasks and timeline. This is Debbie again.
Karen, I think we still
Yeah.
have the task order for the model update. It's
model
number
update.
9. And
Yeah.
then there's
Number
a
9,
motion
right?
Number 10.
I don't have a motion for number 9.
Oh, you must have the earlier version. We added it.
Oh, shoot. Okay, I'm sorry.
No worries.
Did you have a chance to discuss the grant application?
No, so we'll
Okay.
take that after this item, if that's okay.
Okay,
So I can help you with it.
yes, would you?
Task order to
Oh, I see it
update
now.
the C2V SIM TM model, and the task order would be for Woodard and Curran to update and recalibrate the model for the Turlock Subbasin. And I have a little more information to share if that's okay with you.
Yes, please.
Okay, so this is a task order to update the model. As you all recall, the groundwater model that was developed for the subbasin for the GSP was done so early on so we could use the model to further analyze the subbasin and all of that. And so this update to the model would do a couple things. One, it would address some of the improvements that were identified as we went through the GSP and recommendations from that effort into the model. And two, it would update some of the model with some additional information that's now available that was not available at the time. And then it would be recalibrated. And so that recalibrated model will then be available for updating our water budget information, which will then feed into the accounting process that's being developed between the two GSAs. And then it'll be available for other analysis as we move forward. So it's an incremental improvement in the model, and will be very useful as we move forward. So that estimated cost is $106,420. And so if it is of the will of this group to move that forward, then we have an opportunity to take that action today.
Anybody have any questions for Debbie?
And if I understand it correctly, this was also something that was considered by the East Turlock at their board meeting and approved. Is that correct, Sarah?
Sorry, had to find my mute button. That is correct. We took this up at our GSA meeting today and approved moving forward with this task order.
Thank you.
Hi, Sarah. This is Jessie Johnson, legal counsel for ETS GSA. I think that the motion also included a request to add this to the grant application.
You're correct. Thank you, Jessie. Yes, we did. The motion maker did request that this be part of our grant application, which I believe it is, but that was part of the motion.
And that will be talked about in this next item. There's quite a few things incorporated into the grant application, and the grant application does allow for recovery of costs back to October of this year. And so we have the ability to incorporate not only that, but also the empty exceedance action plan that was acted on just a moment ago. And so that was the intent as we move forward. Sorry, I probably should have mentioned that.
Okay, so is there any more questions for Debbie? Okay, so we're looking for a motion authorizing the West Turlock Subbasin GSA TAC Chair to initiate a task order for Woodard and Curran to update and recalibrate the C2 VSEM TM model for the Turlock Subbasin in the amount of $106,000, I can't hardly talk anymore. $106,420.
A motion.
Is that Mike?
It's Jaime Houston.
Okay. Looking for a second?
I can second that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 All of those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Okay, motion carries. On to number 10, the round 2 Sigma implementation grant application. This is a discussion regarding the Department of Water Resources Sustainable Management Program. Round 2 implementation for the grant, including the development of a grant application, associated tasks and timelines. And this is Debbie again.
Thank you, Karen.
Mm-hmm.
So as you recall, we have been working with Todd Groundwater to develop a grant application for this next round of Sigma implementation grant funding. The grant is due on November 30th. And so we have been pulling together a variety of projects to incorporate into the grant application. The grant requires one application per subbasin, and it can be anywhere from $1 million to $20 million. It's going to be a competitive process, and all the subbasins are eligible to apply for grant funding. So we want to make this as competitive as possible. And right now we have 4 different what they call components to the overall project, which is the grant application. And the first component would be a recharge master plan. The recharge master plan will essentially give us a roadmap to develop a more deliberate recharge program and projects in the future. It also will include pilot projects and early action plans and other things, and will be a key component in updating the GSP when it's due in almost 4 years now. So, or a little over 4 years now. And so I think that'll be really important. It also will incorporate climate change analyses and updates to water supply availability, all things that were not available as we finalized the GSP this first time around, but will be available during the timeline of this grant and before the 5-year update. And so it'll be a key thing for this subbasin in focusing and channeling our efforts to get recapture any local runoff, as well as water supplies that are available from the river systems, and bring it into the subbasin for recharge. The second project includes, we're calling it a monitoring and instrumentation, and it would include installing monitoring wells along with transducers, both within the West Turlock GSA and along the rivers. And it would also include some meters to be installed on wells over on the eastern side, as well as some more detailed ET information that would help on a lot of different fronts in understanding water use within the subbasin and incorporating it into the groundwater model on a comprehensive basis for the whole subbasin. The third project will be what we're calling a GSP implementation activities and filling of data gaps. And so that will include a variety of data gaps that were identified within the GSP, further analyses of groundwater dependent ecosystems. It will include an update of the GSP, or some of that work. Work for this grant can be completed through, I think, April of 2026. And so our next GSP is due in January of 2027. So there would likely be some work that would need to be completed after that, unless there is a tiny little bit of funding that will be available maybe after that April 2026 deadline. So if we are able to get some of that funding, we might be able to extend it a little longer, but we can't rely upon that. But that's included as well. As we mentioned earlier, there will be updates to the model incorporated as well. And the idea with the model is to make a more local model. The model that we developed for this first GSP is based on the statewide model. And so the grid doesn't really comply with the GSA boundaries and some of the other features within the subbasin. So they might modify the grid to better meet the need, maybe add some additional layers, and also incorporate the surface water groundwater interaction a little more, because that is a big item for this subbasin, and it will be more and more of an issue as we move forward in working with Sigma and the state board as they start analyzing GSPs and how they address surface water interaction. And so we're looking to have a better tool as we move forward with that. So all of that would be incorporated into that GSP implementation and data gap component, and as well as a data management system for the subbasin. We're gathering more and more information, and as we move forward, there'll be a need for maybe a more refined data management system, and this is an opportunity to fund that. And then lastly, there are some key projects that that are being looked at and have been developed by the TID in making improvements in the irrigation system and the facilities along our system that will enable additional water to be brought into the system and captured, or reduce the amount of spills that are leaving the system, which will help benefit water supplies within the subbasin. So those items or projects may be added as well. We're still looking at the timing of when all of the approvals for those projects will come through. And so we're not, we're actually looking at several different projects, and then we'll make some recommendations about which ones to incorporate and why, because we want to make sure all of the projects will be able to meet all of the needs of the grant. And so that is an update there. We are well along in developing the scopes for each of those components. And we are working with the ad hoc group that was established by the tax to move this process forward. The first initial drafts of the scope for the components will be circulated to the ad hocs next Tuesday, followed by the remainders of the draft components scopes, I think the following Tuesday, and then we'll get some comments from the ad hoc group, and we'll be developing the schedule and the budgets for each of the components, and then the complete package will then be circulated in a draft form to the tax on November 18th. There'll be a week to review it. I know that week is also Thanksgiving, so I wanted to give everybody a heads up, but it will be available on the 18th. And then we'll have a few days before Thanksgiving to take a look at it. And it's unfortunate, but that's the deadline of the grant. The grant is due on the 30th at 5 p.m. And so we'll have comments due by the morning of the 28th. And then we'll be making revisions and getting ready to submit the grant by the deadline. So that's my update. I know it's a lot. I'd be happy to answer any questions there might be.
Thank you, Debbie.
Oh, one more thing, sorry. We are also developing a letter of support, and we're going to be circulating the letter of support. It's draft, so each agency or interested party could then add to it, modify it for their purposes. But we'll be asking each of the member agencies from the GSAs to submit a letter of support for the grant application, because that will help with the competitive nature of this grant. If it demonstrates that the GSAs and the member agencies have been working together on it, and there's interest at the local level for the projects that are being pursued under the grant.
No questions for Debbie? Thank you, Debbie. So number 11 on the list here is the Sigma related updates. This is an opportunity for TAC members to discuss and provide updates on issues related to the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act. A list of topics could include, but are not limited to, the items listed below. No action will be taken. And normally Herb has a communication and outreach update, but he's not here today. Do you have anything for him?
Just the letter of support I just talked about.
Okay.
And Karen, I'm sorry to do this, but would you mind if I go back to 10 for just a minute?
Go right ahead.
I just want to, I missed speaking up, and I just want to let you know that East Turlock earlier today did pass their resolution that Debbie was referencing that West Turlock will have to do, but ours is a resolution supporting the West Turlock applying for the grant and participation with them in that. So we have our resolution passed, and we will have it available for the grant application signed before the November 30th date.
Thank you so much, Sarah. And actually, I forgot to mention that we are taking a potential action to the West Turlock. So East Turlock's action earlier today enables us to take something to the West Turlock at its meeting on the 3rd to enable an action to authorize West Turlock in submitting the grant application on behalf of both GSAs. So, and we needed East Turlock's resolution to support the application, because then it demonstrates that we are indeed working together, and we know internally that we're all working together, but it demonstrates it for DWR, which is essential for this grant application. So thank you, Sarah.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other Sigma related updates, Debbie, that you have?
No, not off the top of my head. I've been working on the other ones so much. We are still wrapping up the existing grant. We are still in the process of identifying monitoring well sites and doing the preliminary design work under the existing grant. So then we will then ask for funding for installing those wells under the new grant. And in addition to that, East Turlock will be surveying their monitoring well sites under the existing grant for this next round of fall monitoring that is occurring starting the 1st through the 15th. So any agencies that do that monitoring, we need to take that step at that time.
Yes. I was going to be sending an email out before the end of the day, letting our urban folks know that we'll need to be doing our water well monitoring from the 1st to the 15th. So I'll get that out today and work with them to make sure we get the urban water levels in the books.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And then Debbie, I might just, and Karen, add on to the GSP implementation, a couple of things that East Turlock has done in the last month. We did have a workshop a couple of weeks ago on ET data and starting to try to develop a baseline for groundwater pumping in the East Turlock area through ET data that's available to us. We had an excellent turnout. We had over 100 people at the workshop. And as a follow-up, we're going to host another workshop December 13th to carry on with this, trying to engage growers in East Turlock and get their input on moving forward with implementation in the subbasin. And so we've done that. And as I said, December 13th is the next one that we'll be having. And also the other activities that we've been working hard on are establishing lands that have been identified available or accessible to replenishment water off the Highline Canal. We are establishing what type of infrastructure they have to take that water if in hopes we have a wet winter and have excess flows available to us or to those lands. We have been working hard to meet with all of those landowners in order to ensure that if water becomes available, they're ready and willing to take it so that we can help improve the aquifer levels as early as this winter if it were so likely to happen.
Fingers crossed.
Yes.
Sarah, what's
Thank
the
you.
location of the workshop? Do you have a place identified yet?
Yes, we'll, we had the last one at Cortez Hall and we will do that again. We'll have it there. And then we also have it available on a Zoom link. So that will be published. We did mailers and email blasts last time, which we will do again. But it will be exactly the same. It will actually be the same link and the same location, and it'll be December 13th. I believe, I'm assuming at 10 o'clock, which is when our last one was.
Very good. Thank you. Okay, well, this meeting's drawing to a close here. Does anybody have anything else they'd like to discuss? Okay, our next regular meeting is scheduled for Thursday, November 24th, 2022, but that's awfully close to Thanksgiving holiday. So we'll be canceling this meeting and a special meeting will likely be held in its place. So any motions for adjournment today?
I'll motion, Karen.
I knew that would come quick. Thank you, Leandra. Second? Thank you, Jaime. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Hi.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Okay, we are adjourned on this side at 2:46 p.m. Sarah.
Thank you. And can I get a motion from East Turlock to adjourn?
This is Matt. I'll move.
Thanks, Matt. In a second.
Lacey
I
will
can-
second.
I think I got Lacey. I'll take Lacey. Thank you. And I'll do a quick roll call. Matt,
Yes.
Lacey,
Yes.
Christy,
Yes.
and myself, yes. And now East Turlock is adjourned at 2:47.
Thank you, everybody. We'll see you at the next meeting and happy Thanksgiving if we don't see you between there and now.